Hi, everybody. So this is Brian Smith from the Wireless Broadband Alliance marketing team. I'm very happy to be sitting here today with Vasudevan Venkatakrishnan from Ruckus-CommScope. We're going to ask Vasu a few questions today about a number of different topics. But Vasu, just to start things off, I'd love to just get a brief introduction of yourself and your role at Ruckus-CommScope.
Sure. Thanks, Brian. Thanks a lot. Let me actually start off with giving a quick introduction about CommScope before I jump into what I'm doing in CommScope itself. So CommScope primarily has five business segments today. One of them is called the Cable and Connectivity Solutions, which is called CCS. Then the second one we have, which is called the Outdoor Wireless Networks, called OWN. The third one is Networking Indoor Cellular and Security Solutions, which is called NICS. The fourth is Access Network Solutions, the ANS, and the Home Networks, which is the last one. Ruckus is a business unit within the NICS organization, Networking Indoor Cellular and Security Solutions, which basically consists of Wi-Fi, as you're aware. That's what Ruckus does, switching as well. In addition to that, we also have, under the same segment, we have the distributed antenna systems, the DAS systems, the one cell licensed and the unlicensed small cells, which is basically CBRS solutions, repeaters, and enterprise fiber and copper infrastructure. That's what NICS is all about. And Ruckus is one of the significant business units within their organization. From a Ruckus perspective, which is not new to most of the guys, but I just want to reiterate what Ruckus does. Ruckus basically builds and delivers purposeful driven networks that kind of perform in very tough situation environments. Mainly focused on the industries we serve, which is quite unique. Again, the markets that we kind of address is those markets which has a lot of challenging environments today, where actually Wi-Fi kind of is a challenge to deploy and work out. So with our technology that we have, we actually take that advantage and distinguish our capabilities and performances in those markets. My role specifically within Ruckus currently, it's been more than 12 years right now. I'm in Ruckus. So the latest role that I'm doing right now is leading the hospitality or the hotel market segment across APAC, where we primarily engage with the brands across the region, which is covers from India to China, ANZ, and Japan. And we also work with our brands and the hospitality partners to provide solutions to hotels. This is across the entire segment of hotel industry. In addition to that, one of the key other responsibilities that I drive today is basically the adoption of Ruckus software solutions that we have across all markets, all industries in APAC. The solution includes Ruckus Cloud, which is a growing segment for us. Ruckus Analytics, which is basically an ML and AI tool that we have actually built to provide a network assurance-based platform that kind of helps partners and customers increase their efficiency and also improves user experiences. In addition to that, we also look at IoT solutions, so anything that's software related, where we can actually leverage our existing install bases across all industries, all sectors. IoT is basically a suite of applications across MDUs, hospitality, commercial spaces, education, where we can actually leverage and deploy a successful, viable IoT network using the existing Ruckus network. That's basically what I do in a nutshell.
Great, Vasu. Thank you for that. That was a fantastic overview of the company and of what you do there. Now, Ruckus-CommScope has actually been he's been a member of the WBA for a little while. You've participated in quite a few of our events, and at our most recent event, which was the World Wireless Global Congress APAC in Singapore, you actually presented on how Ruckus-CommScope is delivering a secure next-gen Wi-Fi experience from public to enterprise Wi-Fi. Maybe you can just provide a couple of examples of how Ruckus-CommScope actually achieves this.
Yeah, sure. Ruckus from inception has been one of the leaders in providing public Wi-Fi networks. I think that's one of the biggest differentiators for us, where Ruckus working with our service provider customers for more than a decade right now. We're deploying public Wi-Fi networks at public hotspots. The experience comes from there. Also, one of the first vendors to do Wi-Fi offloads, hotspots. If you remember back in almost, I would say, going back 10, 12 years. So all that experience today, we want to bring into the table, and the challenges that we have in delivering a very good experience is leveraging, and that's one of the reasons we've also been always close in working with WBA, because the idea was to, ensure the adaptability and adoption of Wi-Fi across all these public networks. So one of the fundamental ways of how you bring users onto the network is using Hotspot 2.0 profile, right? And that's one of the things where we look at as in where Ruckus Smart Zone Wi-Fi controller, which is the fundamental platform that acts as a networks or access network provider today, uses RADSAC to communicate and bring on users and devices as well. And we also use PKI certificates to securely onboard devices as well. In addition to that, I think with the Passport Release 3 feature functionality, it also includes enterprise level security as well. So a combination of Hotspot 2.0 with incorporation of WPA2 or WPA3 enterprise feature functionalities we kind of want to bring onto the table as we go deploy Wi-Fi networks from public to enterprises. In the enterprise space, we actually have additional solutions that we can simplify onboarding of users and making it secure, which we call primarily a zero IT dynamic pre-shared key. It's a Ruckus patented solution, which again automates the authentication of users and devices and makes it more simpler as well. So a combination of Hotspot 2.0 plus unique functionalities that Ruckus has into its platform helps us derive that as well. And these are some of the examples that we can actually leverage where we can combine the best of both worlds, the best performance, the ease of access to bring on users to on a public network and deliver the secure connectivity with that enterprises give. That's basically what we try to do as well.
Well, that does sound great. But so one thing I've learned working with the WBA and doing interviews like this is that there are often ongoing challenges that companies have to step up and figure out how to make these work.
Yep.
So are there any ongoing challenges or issues with delivering outstanding next-gen Wi-Fi? And how does RuckusCommScope actually go ahead and approach these challenges?
So if you see from it's always been one of the main objectives for all of us within this organization or this association that I would call, right, where we want to make sure that the users have the best end user experience. I think that's the fundamental thing that you know vendors like us, folks like yourself within the WBA want to make sure that uh, users have the best end user experience, be it from the beginning as to how they would be able to connect very easily. That's number one. Second is the ability to stay onto the network so that they can actually get the experience and whatever application they're running, it runs smoothly. Third is basically, it's always secure. And when they move from network to network, it becomes easy for them to actually move and connect from or seamlessly connect from one network to the other network as well. I think all these are fundamental things which basically summarizes that best end user experience. From a Ruckus perspective, as I said in the beginning, we have a huge experience in deploying connectivity in public networks as well, where we do community Wi-Fi, so SP Wi-Fi across hotels for guest networking, smart cities, and large public venues as well. As I mentioned, Ruckus' mission is to deliver purpose-driven networks that offer the best possible performance in demanding environments, right? And one of the things if you see is unlike enterprises, which basically the symmetry or the predictability that enterprise private networks bring, public networks are very, very dynamic environments. Things happen all the time. The interference is not always constant. It's dynamic. So you want to make sure that these difficult situations you're able to actually handle these environments. And one of the things that Ruckus does quite successfully, which we are known for, is the innovations that we bring across on our platforms, on the radios, on our APs as well. So things like Beamflex, which is our fundamental USP that kind of helps deliver a better user experience, better connectivity, but better management of interference as well, and other features and functionalities within access points. Uh, Even before that, ML and AI were there, right? So if I can just take a few minutes to explain some of the things that we do from a radio perspective, radio innovation perspective, which is our again bread and butter, where you would understand that how we differentiate ourselves, how we make sure that when we deploy public Wi-Fi networks and with WBA as well, how we can actually improve the performance. So some of the innovations that we do inside of radio would be things like per packet adaptive transmit power. What it means is uh, in a crowded environment, we want to make sure that a user who's closest to the AP doesn't operate on a high power. So what we do is we ensure that we transmit at a low power for the highest MCS rate, so that a user which is very far from the access point, he gets the highest power, whereas somebody else who is close to the access point, we adjust the power as well. Other things like adaptive Wi-Fi cell sizing. This is basically you want to make sure that you adapt the transmit and receive cell rate for it, especially when you want to manage AP to AP co-channel interferences as well. Other very unique example, which is very relevant for when WBA actually does a lot of deployments in public places, which is transportation, right? You have train stations, you have airports, you have a lot of users, even in even conference areas and stuff. You have users coming into our network quickly and then going back immediately as well without connecting to the network. So features like transient client management, we kind of prevent users from connecting to the network because ultimately they are actually hogging the bandwidth just from a overall connectivity perspective and just probing the access points when they're actually not using it. So we want to make sure that transient clients do not disrupt the network today. Kinds of these kind of things, we make sure that it improves the overall performance of the network. Airtime decongestion is another feature that is built on our access points and radios today that kind of optimizes the management traffic itself, right? So we want to make sure that we can actually suppress the probe responses that comes from clients to access points so that we can actually have enough airtime for client data traffic. And then the last one would be network capacity utilization. So things like this on the radio side, we're going to make sure that we can deliver a very, very good user experience. And when users do different applications, they are on and off the networks quite quickly. So that's basically what I would say, some of the challenges that typically would face in public networks, and that's what we're trying to do, is to deliver outstanding next-gen Wi-Fi today, Brian.
I really like what you said about making sure that the end user is having a great experience, because I
Yep.
think that's the goal of all of us, not just in the WBA, but also in the industry at large. So I like hearing that for sure. And that kind of moves into my last question here. So obviously Ruckus-CommScope, as you've mentioned, has been a member of the WBA for quite a while now. And you're an enthusiastic member as well, getting involved in our events and our programs and our projects. Why would you recommend becoming a member of the WBA or otherwise getting involved with our organization to any other companies in the Wi-Fi or wireless technology space?
So I think one of the, if you may correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the main objectives of WBA is adoption of Wi-Fi, across the globe. And I think it's very easy for users to not be able to connect to Wi-Fi when they have a small problem from a performance perspective, or when they connect into Wi-Fi, the hassle of using multiple passwords, asking them, being unsecure. They just switch on to a 4G network, or in the future a 5G network, right? So I think uh, the whole industry today has come together to give users a very similar cellular-like experience today on the Wi-Fi side, where it's ease of use to connect, it's simple, it's secure, and the performance and the experience that you have is as similar as how it would be, right? So I think we are all here for the common goal. Yes, we have each one has a business to run, but I think ultimately, with our experience of doing public networks and then going into the enterprise networks, I think there's a lot to be done as well. For example, as I said, my role today within Ruckus is managing the hospitality business. I do see that hotels today, from a guest perspective, when he comes into a city, he lands in the airport, he wants to be able to connect to the Wi-Fi in the airport seamlessly first time, but then he takes a train into the city. There's Wi-Fi within the platform. There's Wi-Fi within the train itself, so he's automatically connected. He doesn't have to go look for passwords. When he comes into the hotel, he's already there. Because of in the guest side, you can actually have multiple networks, right? Within the hospitality, as an example today, where in the public-facing areas in the lobbies, you're already connected on the Hotspot 2.0 based public networks, but when he checks into the room, he can actually move to a different network, which is quite secure against his traditional way of connecting to a hotel network, which is putting your room number and your last name and so on and so forth. So it kind of becomes a guest access, which is separate from the public networks. But again, that's the kind of seamless experience that we can actually leverage, that we go across. And when he moves out in the evening, in the city, or walks around the city into retail areas for dinners and drinks, maybe in restaurants, he's already connected with the same hotspots that is there, right? So I think that's what we're looking to do, is ensure that more and more vendors come in. Uh, Vendors can deliver an enterprise-like user experience today, make it simple for business as well, and also be able to deliver a very good user experience. Ultimately, we want to make sure that everybody kind of profits, and there's a way that everyone can make money out of it, right? I think if anybody is there in the business of providing Wi-Fi solutions, especially in public networks, retails, web public venues, and even enterprises that maybe, I think the work that WBA is doing today certainly helps it make it easy and makes it more standards based. I think that's one of the reasons I would say is to join this organization and hopefully be successful in deploying or adopting Wi-Fi across the globe very easily. I think that's basically why I would say a company should join.
Well, we do appreciate that, Vasu. Thank you for the kind words, and we certainly do appreciate all the work that Ruckus-CommScope is doing, all of your great enthusiastic participation in all that we do. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to speak to me about this.